Hello! Welcome to Fan Flak. Me with the crappy background and Mark with the Skinwalker Ranch background.
Actually, this one I don't know where it is. I just the Skinwalker Ranch thing was hidden behind my head the whole time, so I
Oh, yeah.
switched to this one so it looked better.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have all sorts of backgrounds now.
Okie dokie. Well, the one he had of Skinwalker Ranch was actually a drive-in movie near there. And there, the whole show wasn't necessarily on the screens.
Yeah,
And
that'd be fun.
yeah.
Stuff flying around behind the screen.
Mommy, why is there a green man carrying away our... Don't look at him. Just
What
eat
happened
your
to Daddy?
popcorn.
What happened to Daddy? Well, we're back.
We
And
are.
Melody and I had a talk. And this show has always been about entertainment. And we tried to drag it off in two or three other directions. And it didn't really work out very well. So we're dragging it back to the entertainment
We're doing fan
thing.
stuff.
Right. We're back to being fan flack
Fan
again.
flack.
This was Melody's show. It was not my show. It was Melody's show. And Melody lost her co-host,
Yeah.
and I stepped in to do it, and I enjoyed it. And I used to do a bit audio podcast for a couple of years. I did one. Actually, I did two or three different audio podcasts. Pardon me. I ate breakfast, and some of it's trying to escape.
Oh boy. That's awful when that happens.
Yep.
But
Now, we're going to talk today about two really substantial things, and that's Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, which I paid for and binge watched this week. And now, Melody has come up with a reason for this. Now, I don't know if I agree with her, but she's got more information than I do.
the guy
So
said it.
yeah, so she's probably right. But just to give you my side of this, let me show you a couple of pictures. All right, why is this not showing? There. There is episode 1. What it is the gentleman on the left in the plaid shirt and the one that's got the shirt that kind of matches Eric's shirt. They go out to other similar sites to Skinwalker and they investigate the site, and then they return to Skinwalker Ranch and they have a meeting about what they found. And they do like one at the beginning of the episode and one at the end. And the one at the beginning, they talk about what they're gonna do, and at the end, they talk about what they did. And one thing I noticed is in every single episode of the 8 episodes, they're wearing the same clothes. This is episode 1, right here. Okay. Now, I didn't upload them all. I'm not going to bother to upload them all. I went through every single episode, I'll tell you. Now,
No, I'll stipulate they always wear the same clothes.
here's episode 5. The only difference is Brandon Frugal took his jacket off, and it's wanted right up here next to the computer, if you look.
Yeah, his last name, by the way, is Fugel. There's no R in there. He
Oh,
constantly points that out to people. I am not frugal. I'm Fugel.
okay. Well, I didn't know that. Now, here's the last one I see, and I even put a little text on there. Same clothes, all 8 episodes, and that is true.
Yeah.
Even though they have a picture of Robert Bigelow here. I forget what that was for. They were talking about him.
Yeah, they
And
were
they've
talking
got
about
Bigelow's
Bigelow.
picture.
Yeah.
They've got his picture up there on the wall. So anyway, it's really a very good show. If you haven't watched it, I like it better in some ways than Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, it's a little more packaged and easy to follow. I
Well,
agree with
they
that.
seem to have more stuff happening.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're able to bring other people in, and on Skinwalker Ranch, when they bring other people in, it's just to use equipment.
Now, I read a post that said that the TV show replaced, what's his name, Percy? The old guy with the drone
Oh,
that flies
yeah, I
those
can't think of him.
magnetic imaging drones
Yeah,
around,
yeah,
and they replaced his drone because in the filming of the show it got destroyed,
destroyed. Yeah,
and it was a several $1,000 drone. So
yeah.
they replaced his drone. I heard.
You know
Whether
how
it's
many
true or not,
drones?
oh, they according to Eric said they'd lost hundreds of
Yeah,
drones.
yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, they had one that he said it went up in the ground, and whatever they call it, the gremlin on the ranch took it and slammed it against the wall. It's like, yeah, we're not having this one at all.
Yeah.
So even Travis now calls it the gremlin.
You know, some things I gotta. Now, look, I'm a skeptic. I like the show. I like watching it. I believe a lot of the stuff is really going on, but I am skeptical. One thing, they always talk about, ooh, that's a mysterious signal because it's in the 1.6 or 1.7, and that's the signal that we use to talk to the people in space.
It's an interspace
Right,
frequency.
but the problem is that that's our
Yeah,
signal. It has nothing to do with the aliens.
but it
You know,
shouldn't be there at all.
the aliens could come here and say, 1.6, we don't broadcast on 1.6.
What the hell is that?
Yeah,
The
1.6
point is,
megahertz.
it shouldn't be reachable at Skinwalker Ranch. It at um, you know, Florida, but what's it called? You know, somewhere where they have the need to use it, sure. But out there in the middle of bum F Utah, it's, what's it doing there? And of course, the answer is they've got all kinds of deep space stuff going on there. And
Well,
the
you know
least of
what?
which,
I was on one of the Facebook groups, and there was somebody on there who claimed. Now, these people get on there and say they're nuclear scientists, and I don't
oh,
know
I
what
know.
I don't know what they really are. But there was a guy on there who laid claim to being a electronics engineer. Now, he sounded pretty technically sound what he was saying. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And he said those two episodes where they get the reverb back on their own voices.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about, where they
Right.
can
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah.
They listen to the 1.7 or 1.6 megahertz, and it's their own voices.
Right.
And he said, with all the camera equipment and everything they have there recording this, that it is not unusual at all to get a feedback like that.
Well, the at the level of technical prowess of the people who are on the um, the set when they're shooting the ranch, you're not going to have feedbacks, and they address that. I tell you, if you want to see eyes roll, go into an insider chat and ask the guys about posts on the Facebook groups.
Yeah, but I have gotten a lot of good information about things that I knew about
Sure, but
on there.
some of the stuff is just ridiculous, and it's like anything else. Some good data, some bad data, but
It was funny, the background that I have up, I was getting a little light feedback from it. You know, with the green screen, sometimes you get that.
Yeah.
And it looked for all the world like there were cars driving across the back of it. What is that, a video?
They're going to be going, you got your brother stuck at the highway?
I just wish that StreamYard would set up so you could use video for your background and instead of still photographs. On OBS, which is that open broadcasting software,
Yeah.
you could do that. You could put video behind you. And I put a few things on Instagram promoting the show using with the video behind me, but it sucks up a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
So
well,
that,
you gotta
that's
remember, 25 years ago, we were telnetting into little local bulletin board services to download 1 meg files.
I used to belong to a service called Genie,
Yeah, me too.
and it was run by General Electric. It was GENIE. Genie was $60 a minute during prime time.
Yep.
Now, prime time was business hours. That was
Right.
like 9 to 5. At night, it was like $30 an hour or something. It was still a lot, but it was much less than it was in prime time. And like Melanie said, there was no internet. There were a lot of bulletin boards. Pardon my French, but the bulletin board that I used to spend most of my time on was in Long Beach, and it was called the Policeman's Other Ball.
Yeah.
And it was a really good one. They didn't charge you anything. It didn't cost you nothing. And there was a lot of what they used to call shareware.
Yep.
Nobody less than our age has any idea what shareware was. That's what got computers off the ground.
Yeah.
There wasn't this huge supply of internet-based software to download. You could get everything you needed to run your computer for free.
Yep.
And it was called shareware. They used to have the computer swap meet at Costa Mesa Fairgrounds.
Where I got my first computer.
Yep, a couple of times. Well, that's where I told you to go.
Yeah.
And it was great. When I bought my first real PC, somebody told me to do this, and it was real smart. I got a clipboard. I wrote down exactly what I wanted on my computer. You know, what kind of drives, what kind of operating, everything I wanted on that computer.
Right.
Because they would customize one and make it exactly like you wanted it. So I went to the first table as I walked in that made computers. And these are all garage based little places, most of them, 90% of them. So I handed him my clipboard and said and I said, I want you to write down your company name, your phone number, and what you would charge me to make that. So he did. So then I walked to the next table. Now I went to the next table. He could see on my clipboard what this other company was going to charge me. So guess what?
His was lower.
His was lower.
Yeah.
And I went to every table, and they're doing the same thing. Eventually, one guy said, one of the guys said, look, I can't do it for that. But he says, I guarantee you they can't do it for that either. That was what one guy told me. He says, I'll put all the stuff you want, quality, but it's going to cost you this amount, and I'll guarantee it'll work. And actually, that's who I ended up having build my computer.
That's usually the best way.
If you go for the cheapest, that's not always going to work out good for you. So,
usually not. I say that as a cheap person.
But, things have changed now. Now, first of all, you can't buy anything for free. If it's out there for free, there's some background charge and
malware,
something. And if you do get it, half the time it won't work. The software is, you get these. Here's something Melanie and I talked about. You see these things where they offer you, okay, you could buy this package and it's $90. And it's X amount a year. The days of buying software, now you just rent your software.
Yeah.
Microsoft is doing the same thing. You're going to be paying a monthly fee to operate your computer.
For the rest of your life.
Very soon it is coming. Because Microsoft has essentially bought Red Hat Linux.
Yeah.
Which was the only hope anybody had of operating a computer without having to pay somebody a monthly fee.
Okay, I'd like to point out, pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, absolutely, jump in.
Okay, we're beginning to sound like Nanny and Poppy talking about when they get in the old Ford and drive into town. I'm remembering how we felt when we were hearing those stories.
But you got to remember the stuff is true that we're saying.
Well,
and it would benefit. Right, but most of what they had to say at that time no longer really applied. And a lot of what we're saying really still does apply.
That's true. But
because these people are out there ripping people off left and right.
Totally.
You see it all the time.
I mean,
Pardon me for just a minute.
Okay. This is my suggestion to y'all. When you get these apps that say, $9.95 or $9.95 a month or $14 for the year, there's a reason they do that. And that's because they're probably not going to be around. Right. So I don't do that anymore. I don't pay the big lump sum anymore. And I do that religiously and in other situations. But I just pay the monthly fee now.
I don't know if they're still in business. There used to be a company called Two Cows.
Yeah. They're still
TUCOWS, Two Cows.
Used to be the first. Go ahead.
they would register domain names for you and set you up.
Right.
A friend of mine did that. He had a antique car and a trailer, and he wanted to have a website showing when they took it to the car shows, and it was a nice little website. Problem was, is once it expired, Two Cows notified him that his website was a premium name, and that if he wanted to keep it, that he would have to pay $1,200. Because when Two Cows registers the domain for you, guess who owns it?
They do.
Two Cows. You don't own it, they own it. I highly recommend, if you're going to register a domain name, do it through Network Solutions.
Yeah.
Network Solutions is where originally all domain names went through, was Network Solutions. That was it. And all of my websites are through Network Solutions. And I've gone crazy and registered stuff that, like, why the hell did I do that?
Well, we all do.
Yeah, I have my Toys Etc. one that I've had that one. I've had that one forever, and the only other one I own that I'm keeping is one called Cyber Los Angeles, which I figure that sounds good. That ought to be worth some money, but nobody's offered me anything for it.
Well, speaking as somebody who once owned 1,800 domains, this is what
but you had a business at one.
Yeah,
at that
I
time.
did, and it was every name ... something. But what I would do if I were new in doing this is register 2 or 3 good, solid, basic domain names through Network Solutions, and then set it up on your server with subdomains. And because the way the algorithms are now, it reads them the same as a domain. And yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll probably know. I remember back when domains first started, there was one guy who made millions on domain names.
WebDaddy,
and he's the one that registered FUCK.com.
And porn and drugs.
He registered every obscene thing you could think of.
Well, remember in the beginning, you couldn't get obscenity.
Grandpa, is it okay if we stay here?
Is it okay if you stay here? Yes, it's okay. But you have to come over here and say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing, honey?
How are you doing? She said.
Good.
Okay. Yes, you guys can stay here. I'll be more than happy to watch you.
Okay.
That was my grandson, by the way.
Anyway, what were we saying?
About the obscene website names, and you said that
you could not register those in the beginning. They would not. They were, when Network Solutions had a lock on it, you couldn't do that. It's only when they went and they started sharecropping the domains out that you were able to register fuck.com or shit.com or whatever. But they gave the first crack at them to the early birds. So people like WebDad, who was an old He goes back to the very beginning of everything. He knew Steve Jobs. He knew everybody.
Well, he is also the one that registered Sony.com.
Yeah.
And Sony ended up paying him $1 million for Sony.com.
Yep.
But afterwards, Sony was one of the main companies who got together and filed a lawsuit that you couldn't register the name of a existing company like that. That name belonged to that company.
I got
now. You know who ended up in another lawsuit was Steve Jobs and Paul McCartney.
Yeah, Apple. Yeah. I mean, Steve Jobs, that was just stupid. Now, they ended up as good friends. So
they ended up making an agreement.
Yeah. No, but they did end up as friends.
Now, they had a lawsuit right when Apple first started.
Yeah.
The Beatles filed a lawsuit against them for the use of the name Apple. Then Steve Jobs got together with them, and they agreed that as long as Apple didn't go into the computer business and Steve Jobs didn't go into the music business, that they would just let each other exist and everything would be fine. And that worked just fine until Apple started something called iTunes.
Yeah.
And then we had a lawsuit again. And Apple ended up paying the Beatles a bunch of money for the use of that name.
And that's one nice thing about being old and early is, you got in before anybody else did. And
well,
anyway,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm getting messages wanting to know when we're going to talk about truck.
Now.
Okay.
We're done. Okay. Let's see here. Here is the episode we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And this is you can't see it. It's really a terrible picture, but right here it says SUBSPACE Rhapsody, which was the name of the episode.
Right.
It was amazingly well done.
Yeah.
When I heard they had done this, I was not particularly thrilled with the idea. But after watching it, I'll tell you, it is my second favorite Star Trek episode. You're not really that big a Star Trek fan,
No,
I know. Now, my favorite Star Trek episode before this was probably Trials and Tribulations, which was the one where Cisco and Dax go back in time and meet meet Captain Kirk and so forth. But this, I mean, you have to, like with any Star Trek or any science fiction, you have to divorce yourself from reality and just watch it. It's for fun. Right. But it was really well done. And I gotta say this, knowing the singing voices of a lot of these people, it's thank God for auto-tune.
Yeah. True. There were a couple, though, who've got lungs.
Gooding.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just got an amazing voice.
Absolutely.
She's got a great voice. I had really never heard her sing anything until this episode. I'm like, wow, that lady's got some lungs.
Going, honey, why are you wasting yourself on TV in a dramatic show? But I'm glad she is. But she was really something, and of course the actor who played Spock was auto-tuned.
I was gonna say he really didn't sing. He spoke most of his lines.
Why
Yeah,
am I singing? Yeah.
I don't know who was worse though. Who do you think was the worst one out of all of them?
Oh, the guy who played Pike.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Oh,
I don't
that
know
was.
what he was trying to do at the very last line of the last song, when they're up at the front of the bridge when doing all the dancing, and Pike goes.
Yeah.
There was no word being said that would cause his mouth to make that shape.
Yeah. Well,
I
obviously
heard
he
there was a
doesn't
lot of
enunciate.
I heard there was a lot of overdubbing involved there.
I'm sure there was. I mean, there almost always is with episodes like that. But I have to say, this was exceedingly well done, and anybody bitching at it is full of shit.
Oh,
As far as
yeah, it was. I mean, look, it's a television show. You you know that's one thing with all of these Paramount Plus shows and the ones on Disney Plus, the quality of what they're able to put out on a. Let's face it, these shows are not shot like TV used to be shot back in the 70s and 80s. They used to plunk out 26 episodes a year
Yep.
of almost every show.
That's
And
why
now,
24 was 24.
if you get 12 or 13 episodes, although, did you see the post from the Paramount Plus executive?
No.
He said he wants to double the number of episodes next year.
All right. Fabulous. That'd be
I
great.
mean, they're very happy with Strange New Worlds.
Oh, I
They're
would.
planning on hanging the Star Trek hat on Strange New Worlds because Discovery's gone. They canceled it. It's gone. It would be nice if they did maybe a couple of companion episodes to bring all the people back to now, and oh boy, everybody's home. That would be nice, and you'll probably see something like that come up on
Probably.
one of them. They're talking about bringing Picard back for another season, but I'm sorry, but Patrick, it's time for Patrick to hang it up. It
Yeah.
just is. I mean,
Well,
I love the guy, but he's not of the age to go gallivanting around the stars. Bring him in for a few episodes, have him play an admiral or have him play, something substantial. But I'm not sure if he really wants to be Picard every week.
yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of older people who are nuts, what the hell happened to Shatner? He was just in a documentary I saw where he was talking about, oh, these UFOs, they're amazing. And then suddenly, I guess the Pentagon called and said, oh, Will.
Well, what did he do after that?
He's now saying that all this UFO stuff is nonsense. And they're, where are they? If they're here, where are they? Well, let's see. What about all those subterranean hallways they found on Skinwalker Ranch? We're finding the Blue Wrench Boys, okay? Anyway, he just sounded like a very grumpy old man.
Well, him and Patrick are about the same age.
I
So,
think Patrick's a tad younger. But, I mean, Shatner's 90.
yeah,
Two?
Shatner's 90. I think he's 90.
Yeah, he's
And
something like that.
Stewart's 83, I think. Patrick is.
Okay. Well,
Somebody else will know. If you guys know, just comment
let
and
us
tell
know.
us.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say
Uh,
about this episode.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah, hi, Kim. What I was going to say about this episode was that through the subspace concept being used, and through Uhura being the catalyst of everything that happens via Spock. I I really do think this was kind of a wink and a nod to fans about fan fiction, and the idea of coalescing all of these concepts into moments that are revelatory for the characters. And that's the kind of thing we do in fan fiction. And only they used it as song, it's a song instead of a story, which makes more sense in a production situation. But
Now,
I do think that's what it was.
now, to bring something up, this does not have anything to do with Subspace Rhapsody. Let me show you a picture. This gentleman here in the orange vest, his name is Martin Quinn. You're going to be seeing a lot of him on Strange New Worlds because he is Montgomery Scott. And he's Scottish. Now he may still be faking the accent. I don't know how strong his accent is, but he sounds very much like the Montgomery Scott before. Now, I don't know if his is the same voice they used on the previous episode when the one where Spock almost gets killed and Anson Mount goes forward in time with the Romulans, and the Balance of Terror episode. They kind of redid the Balance of Terror episode. Yeah. And there was an unseen person at the bottom of the Jeffries tube talking, and he was talking with a Scottish accent, and Spock was talking to him. He didn't call him Scotty, but it was obvious who it was supposed to be. Yeah. So I don't know if they used the same voice for that or not. That's something I'd have to look up and see if they list whether he was doing that. But, it was like you said, Ethan Peck's voice. They worked around it. They had him pretty much speak his lines, and then they auto-tuned them to set them to music.
Was a time all actors had to at least be able to carry a tune.
Oh yeah, because there were so many musicals.
Exactly, it was necessary, and now that's not the case. They have auto-tune.
Well, there's talk now that they would like to make a musical episode of Star Trek based upon this episode. They want to make They want to make a movie.
There you go. Well, let's hope they don't go too far. That's the problem of television shows. If they're very popular, they tend to fall in love with themselves, and you get these people who really like their own ideas and will kill them slowly. Excuse me, I'm having nose issues.
Hey, it's contagious.
Yeah. No, I suspect it's genetic.
But anyway, that Star Trek episode was just excellent. I'll tell you what. Now, just branching off into hegemony.
Yeah.
I always have trouble pronouncing that word.
Oh,
hegemony. That was the name of the last episode of Strange New Worlds for this season. And that's the only thing I have a little trouble with is the way they have physically changed the Gorn. to make them more like the creatures in Alien than the bipedal costume wearing Gorn that Kirk had to fight
Yeah.
in the original series. So they're lizards, but they're different. But that's okay. I mean, it would be stupid to make somebody look like that Gorn in today's, CGI universe where you can make them look like anything.
The trans reptile Gorn.
Trans reptile?
Trans reptile Gorn. It's
Okay. We won't go there.
Okay. Well, they, my friends know me. I'm making a joke, but
Oh, that's fine.
I don't have a problem with that because I have, as you do, you have friends in makeup, and some stuff that they can do, they can't do anymore because the substances are considered toxic.
Hazardous. Well, and the two people. Now, one I know better than the other. I casually know Michael Westmore and Tom Savini.
He's a sweet man.
I know Savini a little better than I do Westmore. Savini is essentially retired. He's not doing it anymore. And I think Westmore's kind of retired too.
Yes.
I think he's handed his shop off to other people. It
Yeah.
still operates, but he's not doing it. But I met Michael Westmore and I met Tom Savini both at a convention. I asked Tom Savini to talk my daughter out of becoming a makeup artist. And he did. He talked to her on the telephone and he told her, he says, if you are bound and determined to do this with your life, I'll help you. And he said, but, he says, I'm one of the better paid people in Hollywood. He said, I do a lot of work. There's a lot of things with my name on it. And he says, I barely am able to feed my family.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of the businesses. The people in front of the camera make a lot of money. Well, the ones who are
Stars.
in front of the camera a lot. The ones who are in the background don't at all. And the ones who are behind the camera make even less. So it's just the way things are. And now, granted, as I'm over there on cruise stories just because I like to read stuff like that. And this one fellow said, well, it's one of the only fields you can go into without a college degree where you can still make $100,000 a year and be able to drive a nice car and that kind of thing. But then again, we have times like now where everybody is running around trying to get whatever work they can. And
well, you know what you can blame most of that on? Reality TV.
Reality TV, yeah.
Reality TV has killed the motion picture acting profession.
To a great degree, yeah. But the thing of it is that we are now seeing, there's a channel called Southern Things that is all done by a theater group. And it's hysterical and it's getting a lot of hits. And they're a little theater group. And now there are several Southern Things. So look for the one that's backed by the South Georgia Players. And, so that's become a thing, is that people who are not big names can create presences on YouTube or wherever and promote themselves. So, we're in a time of great change, is what it is. And it's
sure
going to
are.
be. And for God's sake, does anybody really need any more Real Housewives? I mean, God, bring me another Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, I'd rather watch an hour of Chris Bledsoe calling orbs over. That was interesting.
Let me make a little mention, and then I want to go back to Star Trek for a couple of minutes, because I've got a few things to say about Star Trek. I have a real problem with Netflix, especially. Prime's got some of it too, but a lot is on Netflix. Since the age of the Blair Witch Project, which was the so-called found video documentary that they did.
Yeah.
It has become a thing now to make phony documentaries, but to claim they are real documentaries. And Melody knows my favorite guy in terms of that. Good old Turner Clay.
He was. He'd suck even if it was a real documentary. But
there's a new one out there. He has created a documentary called Holes in the Sky.
Yes, I've seen it.
His name is Ash. It's absolute, total, 100% bullshit.
Yeah.
The whole podcast, those people that this is my best friend, Brent something or other, and he died. And that's horseshit. I looked the guy up, he's an actor. He's still alive.
Yeah.
So he's following in the footsteps of the Blair Witch Project and Turner Clay. And and Netflix calls this a documentary.
Yeah.
Now somebody, I saw on Amazon Prime, they had one, and they called it a docu something or other. But it was designed to show that it wasn't a real documentary.
A mockumentary, maybe?
Yeah, that was it. A mockumentary. Now that's fine, as long as you own up. And it's like a movie. Nobody thinks that War of the Worlds is real.
Well, not since 1940, anyway.
Right. Not since they put out the radio show. But nobody thinks that movies are real. I mean, let me rephrase that. I've met a few people that really do think movies are real. I was going to say, I know some
soap opera people who've been attacked in bathrooms. So.
Yeah, so there's some people that... What was that young girl that was on the sitcom that got murdered by her fan?
Oh, God, what was her name? I can see her face.
And she was on one day...
My sister Sam.
Yeah, that was the show.
And
she got murdered by a fan.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
I mean, that was just... And it's happened a couple of... Well, obviously, John Lennon, but...
Anyway, back to Star Trek. So, one thing I wanted to point out, now this doesn't have anything to do with Subspace Rhapsody. Rebecca Schaefer, that's the young lady that was killed. Yeah, Kim posted it.
Thank you, Kim.
We need to have Kim as our third wheel.
You want to be our producer?
Want to join us? It's very helpful to have somebody like that
absolutely
remembers.
It is. You know it.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Star Trek. Now this is not in basis on the SUBSPACE Rhapsody thing. I think number one, I think you can pretty much say goodbye to Carol Kane.
Yeah.
I think that last episode you saw her in is probably the last one. She might be on the first episode of season 3, but I think they're going to either kill her off or have her pull a Tilly and leave to go do something else.
Yeah.
You know, Tilly, that was kind of crummy what they did to Tilly. Because she had gained weight because she was pregnant, they pretty much wrote her out of the show. She was on a few episodes, but not much.
Guess
and
what? People get fat.
Yeah, I don't understand. They had that, what's that politician that was on, the one with the space between her teeth?
Oh,
all I know is she's a Democrat, and I don't like her very much. But anyway, Stacey Abrams.
Oh, okay.
And she was a Star Trek fan, so they wrote her into one episode, and she was fat. So if they can have her on the show,
why can't they have? Yeah, that's a subgroup that's missing, and of course, we understand there has to be a fitness level to get into Starfleet and all of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think maybe a muscular person would be nice. Somebody like Louisa in Encanto. So, anyway, getting back to the substance of the show.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. I kind of got sidetracked. So I believe they're going to kill off Carol Kane.
Probably.
Because Carol Kane is the engineer on the show.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You see the problem? They have
got to bring in Montgomery Scott.
They've got to bring in Scotty to be the engineer. So if Scotty's going to be the engineer, then Carol Kane can't be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're going to see.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see something bad happen to Carol Kane, or she can go on to do something else. I like Carol Kane. I liked her in Scrooged, where she played the ghost of Christmas Future, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I loved her on Taxi, where she was
played Latka's wife. Yeah. And so I would watch for that. I would expect that. I think you're going to see Carol Kane go away. The other thing I think you're going to see is they have to do something to take care of the Gorn. If you will recall, in the original series, the Gorn and the Federation were fighting, and they decided for Captain Kirk to go to a planet, and the captain of the Gorn ship and Captain Kirk fought each other.
That's
and
true.
Whoever won, they won the war, and the other group would go away. So that's what the Gorn did. And Captain Kirk decided not to kill the Gorn, and the group that was there organizing the thing told the Gorn to go away, and they couldn't, So you might see something like that occur, and have Paul Wesley, who plays Captain Kirk on Strange New Worlds.
That's Paul Wesley?
That's Paul Wesley. He plays Captain James T. Kirk.
He was a child actor, if it's the same Paul Wesley.
I don't know.
Well.
I don't have a picture handy of him.
Let's go back to before I interrupted.
Yeah, we only got 5 minutes, so later on next week we'll look into Paul Wesley and see if it's that Paul Wesley.
Sounds good.
But here's what I think you're going to see. I think In early episode of next season, I think you're going to see Kirk fight the Gorn on the planet. They'll probably film it at Vasquez Rocks. That's how you can tell. I'll tell you right now, anybody who likes to go stake out shooting spots, I'd watch Vasquez Rocks, because I'll bet you in the course of pretty soon, you're going to see some filming out there with Paul Wesley and the Gorn.
Out of humanitarian concern, bring a map, bring a any kind of directional equipment. Probably, your phone will have whatever you need. And water. I got lost.
Listen to Melody, she lives out by there.
I got lost for 9 hours in Vasquez Rocks. And that's how I found the place where they shot the Gorn thing. Because it's inside the Valley of the Rocks.
Yeah, they won't let you get up in the rocks anymore.
No.
It's fenced off. You can't get it.
Unfortunately, they did back then.
It was graffitied and it looked really terrible. They cleaned it up and fenced it off, so hopefully but they allow filming there still.
Yeah.
So it really would not surprise me to see
not at all.
That film, because that would be, now what you'd have to do that is in the first few episodes of next season, they would have to get rid of Anson Mount.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you may see happen, is either have the accident take place, have Mount right, have Mount not get hurt as bad as it appears he's going to, have the Klingons or time travel, something happen that keeps it from being quite as bad. And maybe he walks with a cane or something, but he can still be an admiral and be part of the show. So that's what I'd do if it was me. And then they'll bring Paul Wesley in as the captain of the Enterprise. Now, unfortunately, when you do that, you're either going to have to change the timeline, because when Captain Kirk was captain of the Enterprise, there was Sulu, Chekhov. You've got Scotty there, you've got Spock. You're going to have to bring in Sulu and Chekhov. Or you're going to have to just literally change the timeline.
How about McCoy?
Well,
McCoy.
That too. I forgot McCoy. You're going to have to bring McCoy in. Now, Babinga, he was on the original Star Trek, but just for like a couple of episodes, one or two episodes. Minutes. But, like Melody says, you're going to have to bring in McCoy, or you're going to have to just make this another alternate timeline Star Trek.
Yeah, well, I want McCoy back.
I mean, you're going to bring in...
I must say that I was thinking of Paul Wellesley.
Oh, okay.
Now Paul
this is Paul Wesley, Wesley.
Yeah, my apologies. But anyway,
it's I'm afraid time is running out on us.
Yes.
So we'll have to say goodbye.
All right, y'all.
Till next week.
Yes, next week we'll be back talking similar things, all fandom, all the time. Not always all dancing, all singing Trek, but...
no, unless they continue to do musical episodes.
Jazz hands. Anyway, you guys have a great week.
Kim and anybody else watching and listening, if you've got any show that you like that doesn't get enough attention, tell us about it. We'll take a look at it. If we think it's horrible, we'll ignore you.
We'll politely ignore you.
or maybe it'll hit us and we'll like it.
Yeah,
You never know. There's a lot of shows that just like one that I liked was Russian Doll. Did you ever see that?
No.
It was this girl that kept dying in the bathroom at this bar. And the next day she'd wake up and she'd be alive again.
Oh, so it was like an encapsulated version of Groundhog Day or something.
Kim wants us to talk about Dark Shadows.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Do you think you could drag up enough new information to talk about Dark Shadows?
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't there some talk about doing
There
the
is
soap
right
opera
now
again?
in progress a Dark Shadows thing.
It's soap opera, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought I heard it was going to be a soap opera.
Well, it's episodic.
Well,
from last I heard, we'll have to see if we can bring Ansel on and pry it out of him. You know.
Well, why don't you get a hold of whoever owns Dark Shadows and see if we can buy it? We'll start it over again.
No. We're not doing that.
No? Okay. All right. Hey, we're overdue and Facebook's going to yell at us. So
Yes. Have a great one, guys. We love you.
So hang on. Don't go away quite yet. Okay. Now we're going. See, you guys take it easy. We'll see you next week.
Same bat time.